Religion, tradition, holidays. Futurama sees them all and says, let's break everything. Here are the moments where the show pushed every sacred line and laughed while doing it. Hell is Other Robots. Season 1, Episode 9. The story begins right after a Beastie Boys concert. Fry and Leela are excited, but Bender is already drifting toward trouble. He hangs out with his old friend Fender, who's a giant guitar amp. At the party, all the robots start jacking on. It's basically robots doing drugs with electricity instead of needles. They zap themselves again and again. Bender gets hooked fast. He can't stop. He shocks himself like he's trying to charge his soul. His addiction gets worse. During a mission, Leela warns that there might be electrical disturbance in space. Bender still sneaks out of the spaceship to feed his addiction. He almost kills everyone. That's when he decides to control himself and visits the Temple of Robotology. The next morning, Bender appears fully motivated and announces to the crew that he has found religion.
My friends, I found religion.
Fry looks confused and asks if this is just another scam to get free yarmulkes. Bender treats finding religion like a new hobby, and the show mocks how easily he switches faith like changing batteries. Leela says they should support him, so Bender invites all of them to his unair-conditioned baptism ceremony. In the ceremony, PreacherBot says they will deliver Bender from the cold steel grip of the robot devil onto the cold steel bosom of their congregation. PreacherBot asks Bender if he accepts the principles of robotology. Bender accepts it and gets baptized in hot oil, and they weld the robotology symbol to his chest. Bender becomes extremely strict overnight. Before eating, he says they won't eat before robot grace, and starts quoting the Prophet Gematic 1000. Fry and Leela were frustrated with his extra religious version. They say they want the old Bender back, so they trick him with a fake delivery to Atlantic City. There, they tempt him with alcohol, robot women, and perfect chances to steal. Bender resists at first, but finally gives in. He rips off his robotology badge and throws it away. It beeps like a warning. Later that night, Bender is relaxing with 3 fembots when someone knocks on the door. When he opens it, he gets knocked out. He wakes up in robot hell. The robot devil is standing in front of him, grinning with sharp metal teeth. The devil reminds Bender that he agreed to eternal punishment if he ever sinned. The logic copies strict religions where the rules are clear. You agreed, so now you pay. Robot Hell is a giant amusement park full of torture rides. Each punishment matches some silly robot crime. The devil even sings a full musical number explaining each torture. Fry and Leela follow Nibbler's nose and reach Robot Hell. They try to argue with the devil, but he refuses. He says they must beat him in a fiddle contest. This references the old folktale where the devil wins or loses souls through music. The show mixes religion, legends, and robot comedy in one scene. The robot devil plays first and performs a perfect violin piece. Leela tries next. She hits a few terrible notes and then stops. She smacks the robot devil with his own fiddle. She doesn't win the contest, but she buys enough time to escape. They run through Robot Hell as Bender steals wings from another robot and uses them to fly everyone out. Leela drops the heavy golden fiddle on the devil's head, and the group escapes into the sky. At the end, Bender says he will never be too good or too bad. He'll just be himself. The joke here is simple. Real religions often say you must choose a clear path, but Bender picks the middle and makes fun of the whole idea. This episode is one of Futurama's biggest jokes about religion. It mocks strict rules, dramatic conversations, fear of hell, loud preachers, and the pressure to be perfect. And all of that happens while a robot devil sings in a giant underground amusement park. Next, we jump from Robot Hell straight into outer space, where Bender becomes a god by accident. Godfellas, Season 3, Episode 20. The episode begins with a space pirate attack. Lasers fly everywhere. The Planet Express ship shakes like a cheap toy. Bender is sleeping on his bed and gets annoyed by the noise, so he climbs into a missile tube to rest. He accidentally gets launched. Fry and Leela try to catch him, but they can't. He shoots out too fast. Bender becomes a tiny metal dot drifting into infinity. While floating alone, an asteroid crashes into Bender. This asteroid carries a tiny race of people called Shrimpkins. They fall onto his body and build a whole civilization in his chest. And the moment they see him, they think he's God. Imagine looking down and seeing tiny people worship your belly button. The Shrimpkins try hard to please Bender. They even make tiny batches of beer for him, but the job costs them a lot. Malachi loses an arm, and the other workers pass out from fumes. Bender never expected that something so small would hurt them so badly.
Malachi, tell thy people that the Lord is moved by their plight.
Then things get worse. Bender cries, and his tears fall like huge floods. Malachi's son gets swept away, and Bender reaches down to save him at the last second. When the Shrimpkins pray for money, Bender drops a silver coin, but it almost flattens them. When they ask for sunlight, his attempt starts a fire. He blows it out, and that blast knocks over half the town. Every prayer leads to more chaos. It makes fun of the idea of a powerful protector who keeps causing accidents instead of miracles. Malachi tells Bender that people are losing faith. They claim their prayers disappear into nothing. Bender admits that whenever he steps in, he makes things worse. He even suggests that they might be better off helping themselves. But the Shrimpkins break into groups and argue about whose side their god supports. They use parts from Bender's nuclear pile to build tiny bombs. Then they launch them at each other and wipe out their whole society in seconds. This is Futurama's joke about how religious fights can explode fast, even when the god in charge is clueless. Once the Shrimpkins destroy themselves, Bender drifts through space again, alone and confused. Then he meets a huge cosmic being made of stars. The being speaks in a calm voice and explains something very simple. If you help too much, people stop thinking for themselves. But if you never help, they lose faith. So it prefers a light touch. The being gives Bender one final line of advice.
When you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all.
This moment hints at the old debate about miracles and whether real help comes with noise or silence. Back on Earth, Fry is working in the monk's radio telescope. He mutters that he wished Bender were home. The cosmic entity hears him and sends Bender flying back to Earth like a comet. Bender lands near Fry and Leela with a new lesson. Acting like a god is a terrible job, especially for someone who breaks things just by blinking. This whole sequence pokes fun at religious expectations by turning Bender into a god who can't control anything. Every attempt at help turns into disaster. Every prayer ends in trouble. And the only real guidance comes from a giant space being who sounds like it's half asleep. Classic Futurama. After being a god in space, Bender tries something even crazier, becoming a pharaoh. A pharaoh to remember. Season 3, Episode 17. The story begins with Bender having a full panic attack about one thing, being forgotten.
If I died tomorrow, no one would even notice.
His first plan? Demand a fake funeral where he watches people cry over him like he's a national hero. The crew agrees just to shut him up, but Bender treats the whole thing like bad theater. He critiques the tears, he yells at the speeches, he even insults Fry for not sobbing hard enough. It's not emotional, it's ridiculous. But more than that, it's so inappropriate. Death isn't a joke. Grief isn't a performance. Faking your own funeral and mocking your friends' reactions crosses a serious line.
Bender was a truly special...
Louder and sadder!
You can't just turn something sacred into a show, but Bender does. And instead of learning from it, he doubles down. That brings us to their next delivery, to Osiris 4. A planet that worships ancient Egyptian traditions. Pyramids, slaves, ceremonial burials, it's all there. And just when you think Bender couldn't go any lower, he hijacks an entire civilization's belief system. When the current pharaoh suddenly dies, Bender does something insane.
Tell the slaves they can all go
Go faster? I told them, but they're so damn lazy.
No.
He interrupts the sacred prophecy wall just to insert himself into history. He scribbles himself into the prophecy and declares himself the new pharaoh.
Long live Pharaoh Bender!
Long live Pharaoh Bender!
And shockingly, the people accept it. That's when things spiral into full-blown abuse of power. Bender becomes a tyrant instantly. He doesn't care about tradition, religion, or the people of Osiris 4. He only cares about being remembered forever. So he forces every citizen, aliens, robots, even the Planet Express crew, into building a massive statue of himself. Not a symbol of peace or progress, just a giant stone Bender, lounging in a chair, pointing at nothing. Workers are whipped, overworked, and shouted at. It's not leadership, it's slavery. In Bender, he poses dramatically for the sculptors while the rest suffer. And this isn't just some harmless joke. It's a deeply disrespectful twist on something sacred. Bender hijacks a planet's religious prophecy, scribbles his name into an ancient scripture, and crowns himself ruler like it's just another prank. He doesn't care about the culture, the beliefs, or the meaning behind it. To him, it's just a stage for his ego. Turning sacred rituals into a playground for selfishness isn't funny. It's offensive. When ancient symbols of faith and tradition are rewritten just to feed one character's vanity, it crosses a line. Bender didn't become a pharaoh. He turned something holy into a hollow spectacle. And that's what makes this episode so wildly inappropriate. This episode stands out because Futurama mixes comedy with a huge cultural parody. It jokes about prophecy, holy symbols, and ancient traditions by letting a robot rewrite the entire religion with bad art skills. And somehow it still makes you laugh. Let's move to an episode where every holiday goes completely out of control. The Futurama Holiday Spectacular. Season 6, Episode 13. This story is split into 3 wild holiday tales. Each one takes a real holiday and pushes it so hard that the whole thing snaps in half. The episode treats Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa like big colorful toys, then shakes them until the jokes fall out. And somehow everyone dies in every version. But hey, it's Futurama. Even Christmas can explode here. Fry feels disappointed because this Christmas doesn't feel like the Christmas he remembers. He misses the warm, gentle version of the holiday that used to feel sacred. But in the future, even Christmas has turned into a warning siren. Just then, the alarms ring. Farnsworth shouts that Santa's coming, so they must activate defenses.
Santa's coming! Initiate defenses!
Everyone reacts as if Santa is a dangerous criminal. A robot dressed as Santa appears on the screen and starts firing at the Planet Express building. In this world, Santa doesn't bring gifts. He brings explosions. Santa finally enters the building through the fireplace. He sings, "It's the violent season of the year," which fits him far too well.
It's the violentest season of the year.
Here, the episode jokes about how Christmas used to be a peaceful and holy event, but now it's turned into chaos and fear. Instead of joy or kindness, Santa preaches strict judgment and non-stop violence. After Santa leaves, Fry looks at the mess and sighs. Scruffy died, but Fry still admits Santa made one good point. Maybe an old-fashioned pine tree really could bring back the feeling of a real holiday. Inspired by the chaos, the crew decides to revive pine trees. They travel to the Svalbard Global Seed Vault and collect old pine seeds. The seeds look harmless, but they were stored next to biological weapons. So of course, something goes wrong. Once planted, the trees grow at a shocking speed. They spread across the earth like green wildfire. At first, the world looks beautiful again. The land turns lush. But soon, the air fills with too much oxygen. The whole planet becomes one giant spark waiting to happen. And who has a lit cigar? Bender. He flicks the cigar without thinking. The air ignites. The trees explode. The entire planet burns. Christmas ends, and Santa's excited that everyone is dead. Next comes Robonica, a precious robot holiday. Bender invented it in fear of a bot planet, just to escape work.
I'm talking about Robonica.
That's just the fake holiday you make up every year to get out of work.
Futurama takes Hanukkah and twists the name and gives it to Bender to use for his own fun. Bender makes up traditions on the spot. One of them is fembots wrestling in petroleum oil for 6.5 weeks. Why 6.5? Because Bender says so. It copies the idea of a long holiday like Hanukkah, but turns the ritual into something silly and selfish. When the crew tells him they only have enough oil for 4.5 weeks, Bender reacts as if his faith is under attack.
This isn't a lousy reform, Robonica. We need more petroleum oil.
To fix the oil crisis, Bender forces the crew to drill deep into the earth. Farnsworth says they can't dig anymore because they can't handle the pressure. Bender literally begs him, saying this is more important to him than his own life. Farnsworth gets emotional and believes the Lord is speaking through Bender. They dig and dig until the pressure crushes everyone except Bender. The scene is dark, but Futurama plays it for laughs. Bender wakes up 500 million years later and finds something shocking. His crushed friends have turned into petroleum oil. They literally became Robonica fuel. The final story begins with Kwanzaa. Hermes and his family are ready to celebrate the holiday. Everyone's gathered at the dinner table when Hermes announces that Kwanzaa traditions are ancient.
Kwanzaa traditions are quite ancient, dating back over 1,000 years.
Just then, Kwanzaa Bot bursts through the wall and starts singing the Kwanzaa song.
Basic principles that go to make up Kwanzaa.
Mocking the precious holiday. Before leaving, he tells them that all 7 Kwanzaa candles must be made of beeswax, or it will bring shame on the people. So Hermes and the crew try to find some beeswax. The problem is simple. No beeswax exists on Earth. Bees are dying from a parasite. Without bees, there are no candles. Without candles, there's no tradition. The crew heads to the giant space beehive from the Sting. They find chaos. The bees are sick from the same mites and are dying. They meet the queen bee, who explains how the parasite has destroyed the colony. The bees now fight each other instead of working with unity. Hermes decides to help them. He gives a speech about unity.
You have to learn to work together again.
His words reach the bees, and the moment they work together again, the parasites begin to die. But things get worse fast. The bees turn toward the crew and prepare to attack. Then the bees cover the entire crew in hot wax and use them as giant candles for their own Kwanzaa celebration. Futurama turns a peaceful holiday into a sci-fi horror joke in under 2 minutes. When everything ends, a curtain drops. Al Gore appears and tells the audience not to worry because everyone will return next year. It's a strange ending, but it fits perfectly. The whole story makes fun of holiday specials that try to sound hopeful even when everything looks hopeless. So there you have it. Futurama didn't spare a single belief. Holidays exploded, prophecies broke, and even tiny worlds collapsed. Think we missed an episode that pokes at faith? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoy Futurama's wild takes on religion, hit like, share with your fellow fans, and subscribe for more cartoon chaos.